In this video, we're going to be talking about the upcoming car and truck brand known as Nikola. Now, if you haven't heard of these guys, that's okay. They're a new manufacturer of cars and trucks, and unfortunately, they haven't been having a good few weeks. Currently, they have 3 major lawsuits against them. Their CEO recently stepped down, and now the federal government is looking into this company as well. It is not looking good for this company. And just a few short months ago, they had their IPO, their initial public offering, where they went public and released their stock to the public, and they made billions, literally billions and billions of dollars selling their stock to the public. And now it looks like it's all starting to unravel, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So like I said, we're going to be talking about the car and truck manufacturer known as Nikola in this video. Now, Nikola is trying to produce zero-emission vehicles, much like Tesla is doing. That seems to be the future. All the major car companies are doing that because we want to have zero-emission cars so it doesn't, destroy our atmosphere. So Nikola is trying to produce electric vehicles like Tesla is doing, and they're also trying to produce hydrogen fuel cell vehicles as well, which is another zero-emission type of vehicle. We'll get into that in just a little bit, but some people think hydrogen could be better than electric because with electric you have to stop and charge your vehicle, which in some cases can take several hours to charge your vehicle. With a hydrogen vehicle, which would also be zero emission, you can just go and fill up your tank with hydrogen and you don't have to wait hours and hours for it to recharge. So some people think that would be better long term, especially for long-term truckers, which is what they're trying to target. Those truckers who haul stuff across the country, they want to make those hydrogen vehicles so they could fill up right away and not have to wait for their trucks to charge, which could take a very long time for those very large vehicles. Now, earlier this year, like I said, they had their IPO, which is an initial public offering. They sold their stock to the public. They made a bunch of money. They made billions of dollars selling their stock to a public, and a bunch of people got invested in this company. I did not invest anything in this company. I'll go over my reasons why they were. But a lot of people that got involved in it, and if you did get into the IPO, in all fairness, you made a bunch of money because it started out, I believe, around $20 or below when it initially hit the market, and then it went up to 50, 60 bucks. So if you bought at the bottom and sold at the top, you initially made a bunch of money. However, in the past few weeks with everything that's happened, the stock has plummeted. So there are a bunch of people who have now lost a bunch of money if they sold their stock in this company, but it doesn't look like it's going to potentially go back up, at least in the short term. Maybe in the long term, they can get all their stuff together and the company will start to do very well. But in the short term, this company looks really, really bad for a lot of reasons. So back when they were having their IPO earlier this year, a lot of people, if you were into the stock market world, were talking about this company and saying you have to get involved in it. This company is going to be the next Tesla. And if you know anything about the Tesla stock, it has performed incredibly well this year. It's done really well in 2020. Most stocks have not done well. Tesla has done very well. And if you got involved in Tesla a year ago, right now you would have made a ton of money. So saying this is the next Tesla stock got a lot of people really interested in investing in this company. Now, I didn't get invested in it for 2 main reasons, which I'll go over. The first main reason is that they don't currently have any vehicles that they are producing that you can buy. When Tesla went public with their company, they already had vehicles. They had the Tesla Roadster, which you could buy. Anyone could buy that product. So they were already a company with revenue coming in. Nikola, on the other hand, has no vehicles in production. All of their vehicles, they have several different ones, all of them are in pre-production, and they don't expect to hit the market till at least 2022 or possibly 2023. So this company has zero revenue coming in. So if you invest in the company right now, basically you're just investing in the hopes and dreams that someday this company will start to produce revenue. Now, that's not to say it can't potentially make a bunch of money someday, but it's a huge, huge risk to invest in a company before they actually have any revenue coming in. The second main reason I didn't invest in this company is because they don't really seem to know exactly what type of company they want to be. When Tesla started, they have one vehicle. They had the Tesla Roadster that they focused on. They made that product hit the market, and then they started to work on their second car. They made that product hit the market, and then they started to work on their third vehicle. They focused on one vehicle at a time. Nikolai, on the other hand, I believe they're working on 5 different vehicles at the same time. So they're working on a fully electric truck called the Badger. That's for the general public. They're trying to work on that. Then they have a fuel cell long haul truck for truckers to move products across the country, across the state. They're also working on that as well. They're working on an electric ATV as well, and they're working on an electric jet ski, and I think they have an electric garbage truck that they're working on as well. So they're working on 5 different products at the same time. They're working on electric vehicles and hydrogen vehicles. They don't really seem to know exactly what they want to focus on, and it doesn't look like these products, at least in my opinion, are going to come out anytime soon. For those reasons, I didn't invest in this company when the IPO happened. Now, I didn't invest in the company, but a lot of other people did. Nikolai did a great job in marketing their products. They released all these great videos. They had a video of their fuel cell truck driving down the street. It looks really massive. It looks really cool, and a lot of people liked that image. And they also released a pre-release. You could put down money to potentially buy the Nikola Badger when it eventually releases. And so they did a bunch of marketing hype for their products, and it worked really well. A bunch of people bought into the IPO. The stock went soaring. Nikolai made billions of dollars for selling all their stock, and they could start using that money to work on their products even more. Now, everything was going very good for the company Nikolai for several months. However, a few short weeks ago, the cracks started to form, and it started to become apparent that this company, at least it doesn't appear to be what they say they are. It seems to be they're not being truthful with everything. So there was a company called Hindenburg Research. They're a company that researches a lot of companies, seeing which companies they should invest in and which companies they should stay away from. And they released a very scathing article on Nikolai and how they said they're basically a fraudulent company. And I'll have a link below if you want to check out their full article that this research company released. But basically the main points that they said about Nikolai was that Nikolai didn't actually have any proprietary technology on their batteries for their vehicles, and basically they were just buying their batteries from another company and just installing them in the car. They were buying a bunch of different parts and basically just putting the car together. They weren't actually manufacturing their own vehicles. That's what the research says, which is kind of interesting, because if that's true, basically Nikolai is basically just they're acting as like a middleman. They're not really a car manufacturer, if this is true. But the big thing that they said that's very, very shocking, if this is true, is incredibly manipulative that Nikolai did. So Nikolai released footage of their fuel cell long haul vehicle, their truck. It was going down the hill. You could see it just, cruising along with its own power, and that like a helicopter taking shots of it. And they released this footage, and a lot of people saw it, and it convinced a lot of people to invest in the company. Now, the Hindenburg Research says that the vehicle wasn't actually operating under its own power. They say that Nikolai hired a tow truck to haul their vehicle to the top of a hill and then release it. And their truck was basically just rolling down a hill because of gravity. There was no engine powering the actual vehicle. It was just gravity that was causing this vehicle to roll down the hill. And nowhere did Nikolai ever say that's what was happening. They didn't say we just, took our truck to the top of the hill and rolled it down. They presented it as, this is a working vehicle and it's driving itself down the road. Now, if this is true, it's incredibly manipulative. That's one of the worst things I have ever heard a company do, if it is true. Now, Hindenburg Research also said, Nikolai also took their truck to this big car manufacturer's car show, and they had the truck and people could get inside of it, and it was all powered up and all of that stuff. And this research says that the vehicle was actually hooked up under the floor, was hooked up through an electric cable, because it didn't actually power itself at the actual car show either. So they're saying all this bad stuff about Nikolai, and if this is true, it's terrible for the actual Nikolai company. And the stock market, the stock on this company, started to fall considerably. Now, here's the really interesting part. Nikolai, the company, they released a statement against the Hindenburg research, basically saying, you shouldn't listen to Hindenburg research. They're basically just short sellers trying to cause our stock to crash so they can make a bunch of money shorting our stock. But if you look at the actual research paper that Nikolai released, I'll have a link below to this if you want to check this out. You can see right here, I'll have it up on the screen. You can see that Nikolai admits that footage of their truck driving down the road wasn't actually driving itself. It was just rolling down a hill due to gravity. Now, they say in the actual article, they're like, oh, it had all the actual functions of a vehicle, had a gearbox and batteries and inverters, all that, but we decided not to complete the vehicle because we moved on to a, version 2 of that vehicle. So we're admitting, it was just rolling down the hill, but it wasn't really a big deal. Now, obviously, this is a really big deal. The company, Nikolai, they're trying to downplay it, saying, guys, it's not really a big deal. It's just for marketing purposes. We never said it was actually driving itself, but this is a huge deal. When they released this article, admitting to a lot of this stuff, they don't admit to all of the stuff that the other research says, but they admit to quite a bunch of it. This was massive news. The stock on this product, on Nikolai, crashed once this happened. And a lot of people lost a ton of money, and eventually 3 lawsuits were filed against this company for fraud, saying this company defrauded investors and people who put money down to potentially buy the Badger once it comes out, because they're saying, this company is basically committing fraud. Now, it got so bad that the actual CEO, Trevor Milton, he had to step down from the company. They now have a new CEO. This guy stepped down because he was getting so much bad press. Now, Trevor Milton is still being sued. These lawsuits, they're not only filed just against Nikolai, they're also filed against Trevor Milton because they believe he's incredibly manipulative, and he's one of the main reasons why a lot of people felt that they were lied to. Now, I'm going to have a link below to these lawsuits. You can get involved in them this is only if you had money invested in the Nikolai stock. So if you didn't invest anything, don't go down to the lawsuits. You can't get any money from it, but if you were an investor in Nikolai and you lost money, you can get involved in these lawsuits as well. Now, Trevor Milton and Nikolai are in very hot water. These lawsuits are potentially for billions and billions of dollars. If Nikolai loses these lawsuits, basically they will have to go bankrupt. These cars, these trucks they're potentially trying to make someday will never get made if they lose all 3 of these lawsuits. And Trevor Milton, he became a billionaire, my bad, not a millionaire. He became a billionaire when the Nikolai stock went public because he owned a large portion of the company. He became a billionaire when this IPO happened, and he could potentially lose the majority of his fortune, and potentially, I don't know if this will actually happen, but if everything goes wrong for this guy, he could potentially have jail time in his future for a lot of the misleading allegations that him and Nikolai put forward. So there you go. That's the information currently we have on Nikolai. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinion. My opinion, you should never get involved in these early stage companies that don't really have any product to show. Like I said with Tesla, they already had products being sold. They already had revenue coming in before they IPO'd. That's why when I heard Nikolai was IPOing earlier this year, I was really skeptical. It's very, 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 I'm going to say it 3 times, very difficult to create a new car or truck company. There's a lot of money you have to invest in these, and a lot of these companies, they start up, not all the time, but they start up occasionally. A new car or truck company will start up, and they never actually get off the ground because of how difficult it is. So just the fact that they tried to IPO and get money from the stock market before they actually had a finished product was incredibly misleading in my opinion. And potentially, I think these people are in very, very big trouble. I would not invest in this company. I personally don't think they're going to make it. That's just my opinion. But I'd love to hear your thoughts below. So go ahead and leave your thoughts. What do you think about the Nikolai company and their electric and hydrogen fuel cell cars and the former CEO, Trevor Milton? Do you think these guys were in the right? They were just trying to get hype around their product? Or what they did was incredibly misleading and actually fraudulent? Leave your opinions below. Thanks, everyone, and have a fantastic day.